Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So we're gonna make this a super duper cute little guy. He's just a little snuggly. He's got his wings here. He's made from the Bernat, I think it's Bernat Velvet. Yeah, it's Bernat. What I'm gonna use in the video today is going to be a baby, because this thing is huge compared to my hand. Kind of hard. I mean, I guess a kid could pick it up and snuggle it, but I made it out of the velvet, but you don't have to. I actually have one here that's not made from the velvet. So, he's kind of ugly with the yarn that I use, but I know where to put him now. So, the yarn that I chose to use this time around is still velvet, but it's a baby velvet. So this is going to be a lot smaller. And this calls for a 5mm hook. This calls for a 5mm. So I'm going to use a 4.5 because we're going to do an amigurumi, so we got to do it tighter. The color of the Bernat Baby Velvet is pale gray. I just wrote it down because I cut off part of the tag before I stick it in my thing. So, the other part of the yellow, I'm going to do, the main body is going to be gray, but I've got this Baby Velvet White. This is called Snowy White. And it's going to be, you know, I'm going to use it for probably part of the wings here. The eyes, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the nose. Probably have some other velvet just laying around. I can do the nose like a different color or whatever, or I'll just do it white. I don't know, I haven't decided. So let's jump right into this. This velvet's not the easiest thing to work with. Oh gosh, I rolled it really tight too. It's not the easiest thing to work with, but it does hide a lot of imperfections. Oh, this isn't going to go so well. So I have a green background just so you can see my colors better. If you've never worked with velvet before, you're probably going to struggle to try to find the stitches. It's not the easiest stuff to work with. You're going to start with a magic ring of 8 single crochets. That's my 8. We're not slip stitching or chaining 2 because this is amigurumi. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. Now I feel with the velvet, you have to feel your way around as opposed to see your way around. So that's number 1. 2 single crochets in each stitch. Let's see if I can, no, that's as far as I can zoom. And you'll have 16 stitches when you're done. So I'm letting my finger here at the back feel where the stitches are, because it's super duper, even me as an avid crocheter, and I've used velvet lots of times, they are hard to see. This gray's not so bad. That purple was horrible. So I advise against using purple or any dark colors. So your next round is going to be an increase round. No, not that that wasn't an increase round, but so you're going to do 1 single crochet and an increase. This will bring you up to 24 stitches. That's 1 single crochet and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. So I'm back around, and I forgot to mention that if you're using just regular yarn, you still need to go down a hook size because it's amigurumi. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. And this will bring you up to 32 stitches. That's number 1. That's number 2. And then your next stitch is the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 40 stitches. So with working with velvet, I would just, you seem to do a lot more counting just to make sure that you're getting it all into the right spaces. So it's number 1. That's 3 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase, and this will give you 48 stitches. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, and then 2 single crochets in your next stitch for your increase, and repeat. Your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 56 stitches. And then after that, I want you to put 1 single crochet in each of those 56 stitches for 7 rows. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have. This gives your 7 rows. It'll probably seem like more with normal yarn than it does with the velvet. We're going to start adding our little heart. So I did this heart because this was made for a Valentine video. Now the heart looks like it's off center because I didn't quite center it when I did the top and put my eyes on, so that's why it looks so screwy like that. But you know, even if you're just making it for a little snuggly for your son, putting the heart in is, you know, cute. So get your second color ready if that's what you're doing. If that's not what you're doing, then let me see, you're gonna do 7. Oh no, I got a decrease there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows of just 56 stitches. What you've been doing, just do 10 more rows if you don't want to put the heart in. If you want to put the heart in, then I need you to do 44 stitches. That's number 1. Alright, that's my 44th stitch. Oh, wait a minute. 4, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, no, that's my 44th stitch. Sometimes when you slip up, as I'm counting in my head, and I go into the stitch, but I don't get the full stitch, so I pull back out. I'm like, did I count that? Was I at that number, or was I not at that number? So anyway, this is your 44th stitch. So for your 44th stitch, I can pop this out here. This is where we're going to finish that stitch with our whatever secondary color you're using. So I like to just tie these in a... Now if you're not familiar with tension or anything else, I probably would suggest not doing this, but I like to just tie a knot. I'm going to weave my gray in anyway, because I'm going to use it again, but I don't want to weave in my white because I don't want it to be too bulky, and that's why I do that. So you're just going to do one white to start. So I'm not weaving very far, so one white. So you're just going to basically pull up a loop and finish it with your gray, and then just leave your white hanging there for when we come back around. And now you're going to do 11 single crochets back to your marker. Your next round, you're going to do 43 single crochets, so you're going to stop a stitch before you stopped last time. So I'm at my 43rd stitch. Wish I could zoom in more. I'm at my 43rd stitch. Oh, my white's already attached. I'm not sure what I think I'm doing. So get your white, finish that stitch with your white. You're going to want to pull down on everything. You're going to do 3 single crochets with your white. So your first stitch is going to be right before the white one you did in the last row. Then you're going to do on top of your white from the previous row, and then one more, but don't finish the stitch with your white, finish it with your gray. And then you're going to do 10 single crochets back to your marker. So far that's what you should have. That's the beginning of our heart. And I know with the velvet it doesn't much look like that, but it starts with 42 stitches. Always count this as number 1. So you're going to finish that with your white. Pull down on your gray. And with your white, you're going to do 5 single crochets. You're going to finish your 5th stitch with your gray. And with your gray, you're going to do 9 single crochets back to your marker. So your next round is going to be 41 single crochets. So that's my 41st stitch. I'm going to finish with my white. And with my white, I'm going to do 7 single crochets. So each row so far has started the stitch before and ended the stitch after. I'm going to finish this last stitch with my gray. And with my gray, I'm going to do 8 single crochets to my marker. So next row, you're going to do 40 single crochets. So that's my 40th stitch. It's always one stitch before the color that you stop. So I'm going to finish that stitch with my white. And with my white, I'm going to do 9 single crochets. That's my 9th. I'm going to finish it with my gray. And with my gray, I'm going to do 7 single crochets to the marker. Helps if I'm on camera. Okie dokie. Your next round is going to be 39 single crochets, and I will see you on the other side of the pause screen. So I'm at my 39th stitch. I'm going to finish it with my white. Just make sure your white at the back is loose. It's only the gray you got to pull down and make sure it's snug when you weave in. So you're going to do 11 single crochets with your white. And my 11th stitch is obviously one past. And I'm going to finish it with my gray, and with my gray I'm going to do 6 single crochets to my marker. I'm getting a little tangled, so if you find that you're getting tangled, velvet's slippery, so I'm going to just protect my loop, and I'm just going to spin these two undone like that. Easy peasy. So we're going to do some different stuff on this round. We're going to start making the humps for the heart. So first though, I want you to do 38 single crochets, and I will see you on the other side of the pause screen. So I'm at my 38th stitch. Oh my gosh, I gotta pull some white out. I'm gonna finish that with my white. Now when you pull across, just really make sure you pull that back down and make it all loosey-goosey. Doesn't matter what's going on the inside. So we're gonna do 6 bees. This is my 6th stitch. I'm going to finish it with my gray. With my gray, I'm going to do 1 single crochet, and I'm going to finish that with my white. And then with my white, I'm going to do 6 single crochets. And you should go 1 outside of the area into the gray part. So finish that with your gray, and then you're going to do 5 single crochets back to your marker. So this is now a split in the heart. Your next round is going to be, again, 38 stitches, so I will see you on the other side of the pause screen. This is my 38th stitch. There's no gray stitch before because we're doing the exact same thing that we did in the last row. So finish your 38th stitch with your white. With your white, you're going to do 5 single crochets. This is my 5th stitch. I'm going to finish it with the gray, and I'm going to do 3 single crochets. The second one is going to be on top of the gray from the previous row. I'm going to go back to white on my 3rd stitch. I'll finish that with my white, and with my white I'm going to do 5 single crochets. So on my 5th stitch, I'm going to finish with the gray, and with my gray, I'm going to do 5 single crochets back to my marker. So these next 2 rows are going to be identical. We're not doing any more color. Matter of fact, cut your color off, leaving a sewing tail so you can kind of weave it in. That's the end of our heart. I know some people like to go one more round, but so I'm going to start weaving the white in when I come back around this way, and then I'll just weave it in. So that's the end of your heart. The next 2 rows are just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 56 stitches with your gray, and I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have at this point. We're going to start decreasing now. We're going to do 5 single crochets in a decrease. That's number 1. That's my 5 single crochets. Now, a decrease can be done in the front loops only, just to cut down on the size of gap that a regular decrease leaves, or you can do it in the whole stitch. I'm going to use the front loops just because I like to have this down here to keep the gaps closed. Not necessarily for velvet. It's not a huge big deal, but so continue that all the way around, and I will see you on the other side. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease, and this brings you down to 40 stitches. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets and then your decrease. And repeat. Next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease, and this will bring you down to 32 stitches, and that's as far as we're going. That's number 1. That's 3 single crochets and then your decrease. So once you're done your decrease, I want you to do 7 rows of, well, 1 single crochet in each of the 32 stitches. So I'm going to put all that up on my pause screen, and then when we meet back up, we'll take care of the business at the top, and then we'll move on to the rest of the project. And that body part will be done. So this is what your 7 rows looks like, and yes, it looks like a whoopee cushion or a hot water bottle. Anyway, we need to stuff this. This one is a lot smaller than my other one. This is my other one. I mean, this is stuffed, but because I did the baby fine yarn, it's a lot smaller, a little more conducive to little kids' hands, you know, if that's who you're giving it to. But this also could be a Valentine's gift for a loved one. But anyway, we got to stuff this, but this velvet, it's so hard to not overstuff the velvet. I just want to protect my loop. I'm fastening off anyway, but I'm going to stuff it first. So it's very easy to overstuff velvet if you're using velvet. It's also very hard to stuff velvet. So go ahead and get yours stuffed the way you want it. And again, I'll meet you right back here. So you do want this to kind of still be squishy, but if it doesn't bounce back, it's not full enough. It needs to bounce back. So I'm going to fasten off. This is usually how I screw up my, where I put everything, as I don't fold it properly. So I'm going to fasten off. So you need a sewing tail because I'll show you. This here is just sewn flat. I know it's hard to see that way, eh? This here is just sewn flat, whip stitched across. So you need enough to whip stitch this bad boy. This doesn't take much yarn at all. if you follow the same pattern and you use the just the regular velvet, that's the size difference. So that's the baby velvet, that's regular velvet. Plus this is a bigger hook because the regular velvet I think calls for a 5.5, so I'm pretty sure I used a 6. I'm not sure, let me look. Yeah, I used a 5.5 because it called for a 6. That's what it was. Called for a 6 hook. So I went down in size and I used a 5.5 because I was doing amigurumi. So that's the size difference. That's baby velvet and that's regular velvet. Both, they're all from Bernat. I'm not sure if anybody else makes a velvet. So this is where I usually screw it up because I don't, you need to figure out, I think I'm going to pin mine this time, or clip mine. Let me get my clips. I'm going to get my clips. As every single time I've done this, I don't get it centered where my things are going to be. So you just need to make sure that you're getting it centered. Maybe. These clips are just from a sewing kit that I have. Well, it looks more centered than my other ones did, that's for sure. Yeah, so figure out where your center is to make your ears. Oh, see, when I look in the camera, it doesn't quite look centered. We're going to put our eyes here, so I don't know. Okay, so I think that's my center. I got to move my yarn tail over a couple of stitches before I can whip stitch. So if you gotta move yours too, just use the front loops to do it. Let me zoom in here. If you're gonna move yours, because see mine's here, I can't start whip stitching. I gotta move over. I'm gonna use the front loops to do that. So now that I'm over where I'm supposed to be, I still don't feel like that's in the center. Anyway. So a whip stitch is generally back loop to back loop, but you can use the whole stitch when you whip stitch. So that's all you got to do is just whip stitch across. So that's my whip stitch. So it gives you these little ears and it just automatically does it. You don't even have to try. So I'm just gonna come through one more time so I can make my little knot. Now that's what I mean about the velvet, is you can't even really tell that I just did that whip stitch because the velvet just kind of seems to hide everything. It's fantastic stuff. So you can just weave. Obviously don't pull too hard up here, but weave in 3 different directions. Not that I think anything's going to happen to your stuff, and the velvet is kind of slippery, so there we go. So let's do the hair on the end of the ears, so get whatever color. Mine's just going to be white. So I've decided that I'm going to use this Baby Fine, it's greenish. I'm going to use that for his ears because I'm going to do white eyes. And then I think with his wings, the inside, so the middle part of the wing, I did with color, and that's the rest of the wing. So I think with the wing, I'm going to do gray and then the green too. So, and then maybe I'll do his nose with this color as well. So that's what I'm going to do. So, spread 4 fingers open, and that's where you're going to do your winding. That's 5 times. Probably good enough. So just cut down the middle. You've got these strands. You're going to have an extra little strand. But that's, you can't take them all at the same time, but I did mine too. Turn it around to the back. You're going to stick your hook through the part of the ear you want this on. So this needs to be even when you're holding it. You're going to grab your pieces and you're going to pull through, making a loop so that you can grab all these pieces and pull through. So that makes a nice knot. We're going to trim this after. So grab 2 more pieces. You should have 6 pieces altogether. Make it even in your hand. Go through the same hole. Pull through, make a loop, and pull through. And one more time. So if you're using regular yarn, it'll stand up a lot better. The velvet just seems to flop down. Still cute, but. And then I just take this and I cut it off wherever. So it all depends on what you want for size. And then I just give it a trim like that. And then there's my little thing for my hairy ear. So I'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other side, and I'll meet you back and we'll get some eyeballs done. I still don't feel like this is centered. It looks centered on camera, but not in person. Anyway, go back and do your other ear, and I'll meet you back here for the eyeballs. So I got my little ear things done, and so let's move on to the eyes. Find a place for this guy. So I'm going to do mine with the white. So you want to make a magic ring. We're still using our 4.5. You're going to put 6 single crochets inside. Pull that closed. We're doing amigurumi, so we're not slip stitching or chain 1. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each of those 6 stitches for a total of 12. For some reason I put my stitch marker away. So we are using these in conjunction with safety eyes. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochets and an increase. And this will bring you up to 18 stitches. And your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. This will be your last round. So you can fasten off once you're done. That's 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and then your increase. Brings you up to 24 stitches. There we go. So you can fasten off and make another one. I'll put my pattern on the screen and I will see you on the other side. So I got both of mine done. So for safety eyes, get my safety eyes. The reason I chose red on this guy was because owls, when like regular barn owls and stuff, when they when you shine a flashlight at their eyes glow red because they're nocturnal. The snowy owl, their eyes turn yellow. So I think I'm going to do yellow if I can find them. So I think I'm going to put yellow on these guys. Not sure really, that's kind of, it's hard to see. So I just put mine right off to the side. I didn't do them in the center. Just like that. So just make sure that you have them where you actually want them before you put the backs on. Making sure mine are in the same spot. So this little guy back here, he can get weaved in. The only place I used glue was his nose because it's really super duper small. But if you want to glue and sew your eye down just so it doesn't roll up or anything, you can do that. So I'm just making sure there's no hole in the center. And normally we wouldn't do that because we'd be sticking an eye in there, but so that's where I put my eyes. I've got it all pinned. I haven't sewed anything yet, but that's where my eyes are going. So get your eyes sewn on. When I sew, I mean, it's hard to tell now, but these probably will look like they're closer together. But the nose is going to go right in there, so leave it a little bit of a space. Well, there's my eyes. Not one of my finer moments. He looks a little... At least he looks a little more on center now with his little heart. So, last but not least... Oh, well, not the last. We gotta do the nose. And we gotta do the wings. So, the nose is quick and easy. So, figure out what color you're using and we'll do that next. So, for this little guy, I said I was gonna do the beak green. And that gives you this little triangle you're going to fasten off. That is it. That is it. You need a little bit of a sewing tail to sew this to his face. So that's his tiny little beak. I sewed I'll show you what I did. Let me first come over here. I'm just going to pop across. So I don't want to pull tight because I still need this to be a triangle. But this is velvet, so it doesn't really weave in that well and stay put. So I'm going to tie a really sensitive but tight double knot. So the first one's not tight, it's the sensitive part. And then I'm going to try to weave this just down the back. And the reason I want to go straight down the back is kind of makes it a little bit thicker, so your nose will stand up a bit. So I'm just going to go straight down the back and out the bottom. So it's still a triangle. And this time I used glue because, again, this is velvet. It's not the easiest stuff to work with. So you just got to figure out where you're putting it. And I'm just going to put it right, helps if it's open, right into this space right there. Oh, what's going on with my glue? Anyway, that's good enough. So I put the little triangle. So I'm just gluing the top. Do you see how that curves? That'll stay like that because I just pulled that thing through. I mean, my other one does, so I'm assuming this will just stay. So where I glued is where I'm gonna sew. I'm not gonna sew anywhere but where I glued. And I come down. It also helps it stick out because I'm pulling down. And this literally only takes a couple of stitches. So on my third stitch, just gonna be back over on this. Oh, you can't even see what I'm doing. So my third stitch, I just came from this side, but I'm just going back because I'm just gonna poke out somewhere. So when you pull down, that is always going to stick up like that. Because we weaved down, so we kind of made it thicker in here. We sewed down just on the top, and then we ultimately pulled down to cut our piece off. So that will always stick up like a beak. Now onto the wings. That's the biggest part. So for the wings, I decided I'm going to do gray and the green. So you're going to start with a slip knot, and we're going to do chain 3 and then 2 single crochets. So basically what we just did with the nose. So that's chain 3, and I'm going to do 2 single crochets. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. I'm going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch and 2 single crochets in the next stitch. You only got 2 stitches. So. This kind of puts a point on it, although we're going to be doing something different at the end of the video. So chain 1 and turn. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in the first stitch. You're going to do 2 single crochets across, and then in the last stitch, we get into the second stitch, and then the last stitch you're going to do 2 single crochets in that same space. Chain 1, turn your work. So my computer gets working here. We're going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch. You're going to do 4 single crochets across and 2 single crochets in the last stitch. Chain 1, turn your work. We are going to incorporate our color now, so I want you to do 1 single crochet, which means we're going to finish it with our new color. If you're doing what I'm doing, you don't have to, you can just make wings. So this row is not an increase row. With your new color, you're going to do 6 single crochets. On your 6th stitch, you're going to go back to the gray and you're going to do 1 single crochet. Chain 1, turn your work. So your next round is an increase round. You're going to do 2 single crochets with the gray, but on your 2nd stitch, you're going to finish it with green. With green, you're going to do 6 single crochets. This is my 6th stitch. I'm going to finish it with my gray. And in the last stitch, I'm going to do 2 single crochets in the same space. Chain 1, turn your work. So your next 2 rounds are going to be the same. We're going to do 2 single crochets. So on your 2nd single crochet, you're going to finish it with your other color. You're going to follow along with your color, so 6 single crochets. That's my 6th one. So I'm going to go back to my gray, and I'm going to do my 2 single crochets. So the next row is exactly the same. So your next round, you're going to do 2 single crochets. So switch to your other color on that 2nd stitch. You're going to do 2 single crochets with your secondary color. You're going to do a decrease right here in the middle. And then you're going to do 2 single crochets with your secondary color. And on that 2nd stitch, you're going to go back to your gray and do 2 single crochets. Chain 1, turn your work. You're going to do 2 single crochets. 2nd stitch, you're going to switch to your secondary color. You're going to do almost the same thing. You're going to do 2 single crochets. with your secondary color, you're going to do a decrease. You're going to do 1 single crochet and then go back to your gray and do 2 single crochets with gray. Chain 1, turn your work. You can feel it start to roll, which is good. So, round 11, you're going to do a decrease in these 2 gray stitches. But you're going to finish the decrease, which means pulling through all 3 with your secondary color. With your secondary color, you're going to do 4 single crochets. You're going to finish that 4th stitch with your gray, and you're going to decrease these last 2 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work. So we're doing a special stitch at the end of this, which is just going to make the wings pop. It's going to be awesome. So, round 12, we're going to decrease these first 2. So one of them is going to be green. You're going to switch, so do your pull through 3 with your secondary color. You're going to do 2 single crochets with your secondary color. You're going to do a decrease. Oops, no, something went wrong there. I never did change color here. This should be a change color right here. After your second stitch should be a change color. I didn't write that in my thing for some reason. You're going to do a decrease with your gray, or whatever color you're using. You chain 1 and turn. Round 13 is going to be 1 single crochet, so you're going to switch to your green. So finish that with your green. You're going to do 2 half doubles. So on your second half double, you're going to finish with your gray and do 1 single crochet. So to finish these wings off, first of all, let's get rid of our secondary color because we don't need that. Unless that's what you choose to do your last round. Actually, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. No, I'll just stick to gray. Okay, so I'm going to cut off my secondary color. I'm going to kind of weave it in, though, in this next round. Let me pull this out. So, around the whole entire project, we're going to do what's called a twisted single crochet. So, it's like a crab stitch, but it's easier. Not that a crab stitch is hard. I actually think the twisted single crochet is better looking, personally, and I think it turned out really, really great. Let me find my thing. So, I'm going to find my normal yarn. This is the one done with this is the twisted single crochet, done with just regular bulky yarn. And this is the twisted crochet done with the velvet, and it looks fantastic. So I'm kind of excited to see what it looks like with the gray, because the gray seems to be doing so much better. So I want you to chain one here. So I'm looking at the back of my project right now. So you're just going to go into wherever, this is all a raw edge, so it doesn't really matter where you go in. Let's see if I can come in. No, I can't really come in closer. So you're going to, I'll just pull up. So kind of pull up on your stitch a little bit, do an extended single crochet, and then you're going to turn. You're going to yarn over and pull through. That's all it is. So go in like you're going to do a single crochet, but pull up, turn, and pull through. And you're going to do that all the way around. Easy peasy, and it has such a neat look. So if you don't pull up, it's going to be really, really tight to get into it. But depending on how much you pull up, also plays a role on what this is going to look like all the way around. So this is going to make this curl, and it's going to curl out because we're doing it from the back to the front, which means the wings are going to stick out like wings. So I'm going to weave in all my ends as I go along. You could probably put a couple in the same space at the corner or at the tippy top. I'm going to do it right here, same space, just to turn the corner easier. So I'm just coming back around. I'm not weaving anymore. Whoops. I stopped weaving down here, so I'm going to tuck a few things in. This is my last twisted single crochet, so I'm back at my twist. I'm just going to find a spot to stick it in there and do my slip stitch. So you don't have to be too serious about where it is. You need a sewing tail because we need to sew this on, obviously. Now, we don't sew them on all the way around, but we're still at the top for sewing, which will be just in this area, because the rest of it will stick up like this all the time now, and that's perfect for a wing. So I just need to tuck in a few things, which never goes well with velvet, but so that's my one wing. So go ahead and make your second wing. I'll put, oh, sorry, I'm on camera. I'll put the pattern on the screen. And I'm going to sew mine on. So the little point, you see how, let me lay it flat. You see how this points up? So it's like a teardrop. This way, that's the way it's supposed to be. Where this is sewn to your owl, it's not supposed to be this way. So just the top gets sewn so that you've got your wing here, and it will stick out like that all the time because of the twisted single. So go ahead, I'll put my pattern on the screen, and I will see you right back here. I did mine just literally the bottom of the eye. And I just went in and out all around the top. Nothing like that, so I only sew the top part on and leave the rest to kind of do that. So again, with the velvet, you make a knot, nobody ever sees it. That's the best part about velvet, is it's great stuff for hiding flaws and mistakes, or what have you. Now mind you, I'll have a manufacturer's knot right there. It's not hiding, but whatever. I'm gonna sew my other one on. So there we have it. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.